And here we go. I don't need to sing the two cameras, but I like to clap. Boom.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to the very first episode of LMAY. Let me ask you. I thought with, SNOS, since no one has my solo show, I think, because here I'm asking questions, so it's good to change the title. I will probably cut this introduction. Do not try to fix your device. The strange sound you hear is my French accent. And so I welcome William Lu or Lu. Well, how should I say it?
In Mandarin it's Lu, so it's
Lu.
Lu.
William
yeah,
Lu. Okay, William Lu, who is a good friend of mine, though I don't know how to say his family name, that's shameful. A dancer, choreographer, film director. Did I forget anything?
No, that's it sums it up pretty well, I think.
Okay, so let's start simple and tell me, where are we here? What is this?
We're at Crazy Family's production studio based in Taipei. And so yeah, it's pretty central Taipei area near the...
So that's your production company?
Yeah.
When did you start it?
I started it about 3 to 4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it started out more like as a one-man company.
So you've grown?
2, 3, so okay. Not that much. Not that many people.
It is still growth, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so when I introduced you, I said so dancer, choreographer, and film director. I want you to comment a little bit on that. 1, is it accurate? 2, is it in the right order? And 3, does the order matter to you?
Is it in the right order? Chronologically, yes.
Okay.
But as far as what I do now, I do a lot more film work, and then since I don't dance anymore these days, I want to maybe eventually, but so I rarely introduce myself as a dancer. So I would
not
say,
anymore.
Yeah,
you mean? Okay.
Yeah, I've stopped dancing since I left the Netherlands, so yeah, I haven't really danced. Yeah.
So that was when? How long ago?
7 years ago.
7
My
years
God,
ago.
Yeah.
You haven't danced in 7 years?
I took a class maybe 4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you miss it?
Once in a while, yes, I do.
Okay.
I've missed it. Yes.
Okay. But you've been involved in dance, even though you have not been dancing. And we're gonna go through that.
Yes.
You've been doing dance. Actually, that's how I discovered you. I discovered the dance film because I love dance films. And I was browsing YouTube and I saw this movie that I loved. And I saw that name, like William Lu. Yeah. And then I think I shot you an email or a DM on YouTube. Yeah. And that's how we hooked up, actually.
Yeah.
So all agree that with fiction, the most important thing is a good story. But what about a dance film? Because stories takes kind of a backseat.
It's actually, if you think of it this way, because with dance film, it's a little bit more abstract, depending on the genre, because even though dance film is a genre of a film, but within dance film, it's almost like within dance film itself, it also has its own genre. So then you can also have like a dance documentary, you have adaptation, stage adaptation, and then you have also one that's actually made directly for the camera. And then just like any type of dance, also there's different type of dance genres that's a little bit more story based. There are some for example, like contemporary dance, it's a lot more abstract. So then naturally the film would also be a lot more abstract. So then so for example, if I do ballet like Nutcracker for a camera version, so then the story would be very clear. But as far as how it is different than conventional narrative film that we normally see, the movement becomes the language for the film. So how important it is a dialogue to a normal narrative film, the movement is exactly that. People maybe don't see it, but also with movement, it becomes important how you create a conflict or interest, or how you develop the tension or the musicality or the rhythm of the movement. Because even with dialogue, with words, it's also very important how you create the rhythm for the dialogue. So it's kind of, in that kind of sense, it's pretty similar, I think.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah.
Well, it brings me to, I think, naturally to my next question. On a stage, more often than not, the performers evolve on a big empty space, which is kind of like a blank canvas for the choreographer. You have like all the space you need, and then you direct the audience's eye by something happening here instead of there. And this is, let's say, the grammar of live performance. But films are different because the dancers evolve not only on a set, but also within a frame. So how does it work from a choreography standpoint?
Because I started out as a filmmaker, then I jumped into dance. So I think when I see how dance attracted me, specifically dance film, it reminds me a lot of the early stage of films, like silent movies.
Films, okay.
Because back then with silent films, they hired dancers, not so much actors, right? Yeah. So a lot of it turns it back into like visual storytelling. So with stage, you design what your audience want to see. With a stage, because of the distance, you have different elements to create the atmosphere maybe.
Yeah.
But with cinema, because it goes into also with 3D, you get different type of effects. You can really feel the energy and impact of a body falling on stage.
Yes, okay.
But when you create it for the camera, sometimes in 2D, the impact is very different.
Okay.
So
how do you solve that? How do you translate that?
How do I translate? That goes back into cinematography, like in the film technique. So sometimes when you create dance films, it is still filmmaking. It's still, you need all that technique. So same thing like creating an action movie, why you would use a wider lens angle to create the impact of somebody running, being chased, or fighting scenes. So with dance, it's also similar. So then first you need to go back to what they want to say. So what normally works on stage, what delivers on stage, it may not deliver on camera. So then you have to go back to the essence of what the choreographer or what the dance wants to tell. For at that moment, if the impact of a leg kicking, doing a grambama, like really high up there is really important, the dynamics, then we have to consider the angle of the camera.
So does it mean that when you choreograph for the camera, you choreograph both the dancers' movements and the framing or even the blocking ahead of doing everything?
Ideally, yes. But but in reality, when especially since I started the company in Taiwan, when I work with a lot of choreographers, it really depends on the market also. So a lot of the dance scenes nowadays, there's a lot of chunk of portion they do improvisational segments, and that what makes it really difficult. Sometimes. So
are you familiar with the movies, the dance films of Pina Bausch?
Yes, the Pina Bausch movie I've seen. Yeah.
And those, there's no improvisation. I mean, it's so like very precisely blocked. There's no room for improv. So what is your favorite approach? You are like, because this is where you are so like very open to improv, or you like something more like controlled, where the end result is really your creation?
Well, I'm pretty old myself. So I'm kind of like,
Don't say that.
I'm middle-aged now, but I'm trying to push my boundaries a little bit, because I think with the current stage of specifically in Taiwan, things tend to be a lot of improvisation. What I like, ideally, I like it choreographed. So I can do a storyboard. So I can plan my camera angles, my lenses. But in reality, with the market now, there's a lot of improvisation. So then they also can't tell me what's going to happen. They only tell me the location. So then what I can control is the light, maybe. Or if the budget is very low, we can't even have a lighting crew. So then I have to figure out the time, or like what kind of equipment I use. Often it's very limited to 1 or 2 lenses. But,
1 or 2 lenses, but does it mean like multiple cameras, or you shoot with a single camera?
Ideally, if it's improvisation, yes, we can shoot with multiple cameras. I think it works better. But when you create a short film, for example, even for narrative filming, designing light or designing a frame for multiple cameras, it's a lot harder, I think.
Yes.
It's not very ideal.
Yeah.
So that means you have to have very good lighting that can cover all three angles. So I think if you want to create beautiful images, it's much better to do it with one.
I see. Yes.
Right. Yeah. So I would. This is also something that I need to consider. So depending on the budget or depending on the work, with improvisational work, a lot of times the choreography doesn't stop during the shoot. So then as you're editing the work, you're also becoming a choreographer.
I see. You're like re-choreographing based on the material that you have.
Yeah. So that's why, as a filmmaker, I hate it because you spend a lot of time. It's almost like it's actually very similar to editing a documentary that you don't have much control of.
Yes, I see.
So you don't know what you're gonna shoot, so you end up with a lot of footage.
You can't dance, or you can dance to silence, but usually you don't. Right. So then what is the place of music in all of this? Does it come first or does it come last?
It really depends on the choreographers that I work with. Or if I choreograph, I'm choreographing myself, I generally have an idea of the mood. So, sometimes music inspires me first, so then I have a music. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I will use it in the final product.
I see.
But I usually have a base, like a music that I use in the beginning.
Temp, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or maybe I will use it because that's what inspires me to.
Temp.
Yeah. Or maybe temp. Yeah.
Okay.
Or if I don't have a music yet, I still try to find something that can help me control the tempo of the scene.
Yeah, sure.
If it's already pre-choreographed, maybe I can do without any music. Because we already done the phrasing in a very specific way that I know I can work with. But and then if I have the budget to work with a composer or musician, then I can worry about matching it in the end. But if I know I need to use with a specific music, then I try to control it.
Like for an MV, for instance?
Yeah, like for an MV, exactly, yeah. Or if it's if I'm working with a very specific musician, like MV or...
Yeah, I see. And if it's not in that situation, then where do you source your music? Like composer or music bank or...
Nowadays I use a lot of music bank because that's the easiest one, but I still prefer to work with a composer.
Yeah. The thing is, there are a few good music banks, but even the good ones, they're still like meh.
I shouldn't name any brand, but there's one that's really popular, I think globally, but in Taiwan specifically, it's pretty popular. I used to use them. They have great selections of music, but then after a while, I hear the music, the same music being used everywhere on MRT, on all the Facebook commercials. So then I also stopped using what other people are using. So then now I go to a smaller
music bank. Okay.
I have a couple that I like because they're not popular here.
You want to help the little ones? Give the name of the little one, not the big one.
Okay. Well, they're also maybe not that little one, but then I think they're a lot more. I think they're also they treat the musicians better. I think they get better. More. What do you call it?
Are we talking Artlist or?
No, with Artlist
Artlist is the big one that you didn't want to name.
Yeah.
That I named. Okay, it's my bad.
Okay.
So what's the
Soundstripe? I really like. Soundstripe.
Soundstripe. Okay.
Like a stripe, yeah.
Okay.
And what I like about them is because they comes in when they separate
like
the music.
layers, and you can choose how many.
I can choose just the piano sound. I can choose just the vocal. So to me, I have a lot more freedom.
It's more like a bespoke music in a way.
Yeah. So then I can actually work with. Sometimes I don't want it too strong. I like the melody or I like the rhythm. So I have a lot more freedom with it. Yeah.
Can we talk about gear for a second?
Yeah,
because I'm wondering, there must be like some kind of cameras or accessories that are most suitable for filming dance. So what are you using?
Yeah, that's a funny question. Yes, I think
I try.
The gears that I use are not necessarily the easiest ones to shoot dance with. I use Blackmagic cameras. They're very affordable, and then they create very cinematic footage, dailies that I like. So I tend to use them. I mean, I have the pocket size, and then I also use the
the sound.
Yeah, the bigger one. But but again, that's what I normally use because it gives me also a lot more flexibility in terms of for post-production.
So the pros are affordable, beautiful image. So what are the cons?
The cons are they don't have image stabilization and they don't have autofocus like what Sony does.
Yes.
And then also for low light, they're not as great. I mean, in my opinion, they're good.
Yes.
Because they look natural.
Yes.
It's also depending on the location where we shoot and the lighting condition. So if there is a lot more details in the highlights that I need, if the location's super bright in the sunny locations on the beach and I need to see a lot of details in the sky, in maybe the rocks where it's like really bright color or light color rocks, then maybe I would consider Sony.
I see.
But with what I like with Blackmagic, Canon, or even now I start playing with Leica.
Okay.
I like the details in the dark, in the shadow a lot more.
Directors work closely with DPs, director of photography. But for a dance film, does it mean that your DP has to understand dance or even be a dancer themselves?
Well, ideally, if they have a dance background, that would be really ideal. But just like shooting any kind of like if your DP has experienced doing a horror film and you're making a horror film, that would be ideal, right? So, but in reality, I think
But for horror film, the DP doesn't need to be a killer.
No, no, right. It doesn't have to be killer. You're right.
But what you're saying, like for a dance film, if a DP has some, maybe not a professional dancer, but some knowledge, like dance lessons,
or they are interested in dance, or they go see dance, then it's a lot easier to communicate because the way, because I've also worked with DP that has no dance background, but they love watching dance, so they know exactly what is interesting in the image. Otherwise, all they see is like, oh, am I properly framing the dancer? But sometimes with movement, especially if they have an action background, if they're really into fighting and action film, that also helps actually, because it's a lot of it. It's also very similar because with a higher angle camera, a big leg kick, it doesn't translate so well dynamically.
Yes.
So you need a little bit lower to create that same dynamic. Or if it's gestural, it's same thing. So you just have to figure out if the DP is sensitive to this or not. I
see. We both run a production company which is very similar in many ways. And the reason why I'm doing this, for instance, is because and I'm also writing some personal project because at one point you do so much like corporate work, like corporate stuff after corporate stuff, you kind of like, you don't know who you are, you don't know why you're doing it anymore. And that's why I'm doing this now, because I really want to do something that I truly, truly deeply care about. So like, where is your happy place? Do you sometimes go like, okay, I'm just gonna grab my camera, grab a dancer and then...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, and then go for it.
I think you're doing much better than me. Right now, that's what I'm trying to do. I think I'm really feeling quite burnt out, especially last year. So this year, I started to kind of develop a hobby outside of filmmaking, because filmmaking was my hobby and my work. And then because doing so many corporate gigs. So I try to find a different hobby that's related to my work. So I do that. So I start doing a little bit of black and white photography. And also film photography, so I started learning how to develop my own.
Oh, cool.
I don't print them out, I just develop the film and then the roll, and then I send it to scanner for them to scan for me. But so I try to do that, and then this year we're also trying to find a passion project that I can do that doesn't cost
an arm and a leg,
and also doesn't take too much of my time, because it is difficult to run a company, and also I don't want to run my company like a traditional, conventional business that's very suffocating, especially in Asia like that. Really, that is really I don't. The
work culture is violent.
I try not to micromanage because in Taiwan people tend to micromanage a lot. So I try not to do that. I'm also trying to narrow down my client. No, I'm still gonna do a lot of different kind of a variety of gigs when they come, but also I don't know. This is slightly off topic, but Taiwanese working culture is also very different compared to Japanese, for example. Japanese clients they're a lot more loyal. Taiwanese clients are not. They always want to try new things, and they always want it to be cheaper and cheaper and cheaper.
Yes, yes.
So it's quite difficult to run a business, especially a creative business like this in Taiwan. So I'm trying to figure out different type of ways. So we want to try to focus more on very specific, a little bit more niche clients. So yeah, we're trying to develop more like the educational programming, because I felt like I have a lot more control in that way, because the clients usually know more what they want. Otherwise a lot of times they don't know what they want, and then we communicate, and then we end up working
when
really
it comes to client loyalty. I think lowering the price is the worst way to go at it, because the clients who are, even if they are happy in the end, they're mostly happy with the price they paid for whatever the result is. So they are loyal to the quote. They are loyal to the the very low invoice. But I found that clients that accept a mid-range or even higher range budget, they tend to be much more loyal, because then they're not obsessed with how much they paid and much more focused on the result, like what they got. So yeah, I find that it is really, I mean, it's a gain in the very, very short term when you lower your prices just to get the case, but then it's a one-time thing. What advice would you give to a dancer and or filmmaker who would you like to follow in your footsteps, pun intended?
I can give a lot, but I think better advice for dancers maybe, or dance filmmakers. Because I think don't worry so much about technicalities. Don't worry about the what equipments you have or you don't, or if you know how to edit perfectly or not, or if you know camera works or not. Start with something you know what you like and what you don't in a frame. Start with that. Actually, that also probably applies to a lot of filmmakers, I wonder. Creating dance films, don't worry about, especially coming from dance, they tend to want to see things live directly. So working with a lot of first-time dance film directors, for example, I always have to remind them, look at the screen, look at the screen. You need to see it from the screen. So I think that's one of the things that I would give a tip when they create. But as far as for an aspiring dance filmmakers, do it. And you don't focus on your disadvantages. Yes. Because your disadvantages can be your advantage. Also, because also with my background, it tends to be, at first I thought, oh, this is bad, because people always think that, oh, I only shoot very artsy film or things like that. So start with, just start. Because having that passion and wanting to do it, that worth a lot more. Because that's what I'm trying to keep right now. And then I feel like I'm losing a bit.
When I'm directing actors, I set the frame with my DP, but then when the scene plays out, unless I have to be in a different room for technical reasons, or it's usually space reasons, but when there's no space, I love to look at the performance like without any screen between me, because really this is when I know that the performance is right or wrong or true or strong enough, or I have to tone it down. I look at the screen after the take. I mean, I say cut, and then I check.
Also works.
Yeah,
that works.
But in the moment of capturing the scene, again, for me more like the acting, I really love to see the actors directly more. But I understand why in a dance film you need to focus on the screen, because again, you're not looking at the stage, you're looking at the screen. So you need to make sure that everything's there.
Because a lot of times I think when people don't do that, when you see, a lot of times, right now especially, a lot of times people create dance adapting from an actual stage work maybe. And the power looking at a stage live is very different. So when you take a step back and looking at through a 2D frame, it makes you realize what you need to focus on. So if let's say if it's a Romeo and Juliet, they have all this beautiful extension with the arms, with the legs, but then what you really want is this. Then they need to sacrifice the part of the choreography for this. Or especially I think because maybe with dance it also it's very much connected to blocking, and you don't block your actors basically, right? You really need to go back to look at the frame to block them, to read well.
The reason why I'm a director because I love actors. That's the main reason. I love to work with them. I love to I also love to torture regular people into giving a character that is the opposite of who they are. And but when it comes to directing dancers, is there a lot of acting besides the movement? I mean, is there like some intention in the eyes, in the guts, I mean, how does it work?
I think it's also very cultural and also depending originally, I think, because I studied dance in the States. We had to take acting classes.
Wow.
So it's very different. And we learned about beats in the scenes. And that also affects the way we dance. To my knowledge in Taiwan, they don't do that. So everything becomes very physical. So it also goes back into casting. If this dance films requires really heavy acting, you want to find someone that has a little bit more acting skills, because I don't think it's bad here. It's just the way sometimes it works. I'm gonna get blacklisted for saying this. The education here in the university tends to be a little bit slightly behind. So they're very much more into physical, or they want to get something new, but it's more on the techniques of the body, not so much. I feel like they haven't seen it as everything actually connected, the performing arts. So it's very different. So it really depends, because sometimes they can act really well. So it goes back to the casting. And sometimes with dancers, I cast dancers that already look or behave like the characters that I want.
I see.
And that's a lot easier.
Okay.
So same thing but a lot of time creating dance films, we always work with zero to very low budget, right? Low budget to basically zero. So even working with narrative films, when you cast for this kind of projects, you don't want to create a story that is so difficult for your actors to play. You have to look at your resources, I think. Is it? I don't know.
Agree to disagree.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Because
I really think I don't want to limit my writing to what an actor can or cannot deliver. I will put on the paper exactly what I want and push the feelings and the action and the turmoil as far as I want. And then I will spend time, I mean, on the very last day, we spent a week just casting the film. So it's really about finding the right, and if you don't find the right performer before shooting, then you need to cast for longer.
No, I agree, but I think that's a slightly different route, because you go with the script first, not with the casting. Like with dance, a lot of time we cast first with a specific idea, and then we start choreographing. You don't choreograph first, depending, I think depends if you do ballet and specific, very like historical kind of pieces, then maybe you have, you start with the dialogue, which is the choreography, but a lot of times we have to start with the dancers first. So I think that's why I tend to think that way.
I see.
Yeah.
I choreographed one performance. I mean, that was my one experience, and it was very interesting. But I remember that the dancer I was working with, I wanted her in one specific part of the production to go like, you know, like a big, kind of like scream from the guts. And she could not deliver it. She could deliver all the movements that I wanted, but when I wanted her to voice out anything, she said, I can't use my voice. I was like, wow. But I mean, the vocal cords are part of the body, and I think as a dancer, you should use your whole body, including the vocal cords, if that's what's necessary.
No, but that's the point, because I think the dance scene is also changing. Now most dancers are required to talk and stuff, but I can see from the training in school, there's still no acting classes for them, or vocalization, or even singing. We had to do that.
Yeah, right.
So
where did you go to school in the States?
Chapman University. So, but we also had a really amazing artistic director that headed the program. She's like my mom.
Okay.
Yeah. So she. Yeah.
Name drop.
Okay. Cyrus Parker Jeanette. I love her. No, she really made a huge difference, because she really believed in this kind of well-rounded training. So in our program, we had to study. Well, most dance programs have human anatomy, but we also had to do kinesiology. And then we had to do acting. We had to do some, vocal. Yeah, so then it's all that. Actually, I think that helps, because I think with a lot of the dancers, there's some really amazing dancers in Taiwan, and there's some really great ones. But then I'm just talking about institutionally, it's not really, there's not much support for them. They have to do it themselves. They have to go look for it. Yeah. So so I think that's what I see. I'm gonna get. I would say the
same thing happens with actors. Actually, I think there are some amazing actors. Just for some reason the bar is not very high in terms of what is asked from the actors. I think there's much more talent than what is being used. It's just what you see on TV. The bar is so low that, like, actors kind of like successful actors in those kind of industries, they kind of wither and die because they are not being asked to hone their tools, and it's such a pity, because if you give them the material, they only ask to shine, and they can really do shine. But unfortunately the material is not pushing them so much. Yeah,
because I think maybe the past few years I've been kind of trying to research the educational, especially the system here. So then I think that's also, I hope it will change, because that will help change the industry also. Because I don't think even the film students are being taught how to utilize the actors. They also, right now they're really pushing for musicals, even in the performing arts, but you don't find a single program for musical theater. And then if they're studying theater, they don't learn how to do musical theater, or there's no musical theater program.
So there's a desire to do those things, but they are not giving them the tools to develop it.
Even going back to my expertise as far as dance, I felt like the dancers are trained to be good dancers, students. They're like robots, but I don't see them being pushed to discover themselves as an artist, as a being. So then when they come out, it's hard to work with these dancers, because they can do whatever you're told, but they don't give anything else.
That's just good.
I can't blame it on them, because they try, they do everything they can, but then when they don't have life experience of trying to discover their own voice, it's really difficult, because what they've been doing throughout all their years of education is to serve their teachers, what the teachers think is correct. So their focus was to graduate, to get to pass the test, not so much of finding their own voice.
Okay, that's all the time we have. Actually, we have all that we want, but thank you so much, William, for being the very first guest on LMAY. Let me ask you. And so you're, as always, very generous with your answers, and I'm very grateful. So
thank you, and don't forget to subscribe, subscribe to Cédric's channel.
Thank you so much. Bye bye. Bye bye. Okay.